morning, everyone. Welcome to Spring Clean. I'm Dr. Mary Fry at First Chiropractic Life Center, and we're the Max Living Center in Warren, Michigan. So welcome to those of you who are joining us as guests online. And I'm happy for those of you who've been to some of our classes before. We're going to empower you with some new information about toxins, where they're hiding. Some of you, this is your very first class, and welcome. This class is the essential eliminating or reducing toxicity, and we're talking about spring cleaning, not only your house, but your body, just looking at where are the toxins hiding and what do we have to do to make sure that our body is reducing the exposure to toxicity. And then we're going to also teach you a little bit more about what to do to prevent any damage from happening in the future, how to prevent that going on. Our purpose as a Max Living Center is to be the standard for natural health care. Not only today, what I really hope to do is to help not only empower you to help you know more about what to do for yourself, but I really hope that you also take notes. As a matter of fact, have some paper and a pen, because you're going to want to write some things down and take some notes to not only empower yourself, but your family and your friends, because so many people don't know this information and are, just unsure, really just educated about where toxicity is. Today, we find that there's so much more toxic exposure that is happening without our awareness, that now it's really important for people to learn and understand how it's affecting their health and what other choices that they can make. We're a Max Living Center here in Warren, Michigan, but these Max Living Centers are all across the country. So you and 20 to 50,000 other people across the country are learning how to detox and keep themselves and their families healthier as a result of that. So let's dive right in. First of all, we have to know what the problem is, and what the big problem is, God designed us with livers and kidneys, things that filter toxins that we're exposed to so our body can handle it. But when we get so much toxic overload, our body doesn't know what else to do with it, and it's causing a lot of damage in our bodies, a lot of sickness and disease. When I Googled this number, because I couldn't believe it myself, but today there are access to 2 million different toxins that a person is exposed to every single day in the United States, right? That's a ridiculous number. As a matter of fact, I've been teaching toxicity for about 15 years, and I've never, ever seen that number so high. One of the things that shot it up so much more in the last year, think about all the people and how many more people are using Lysol and toxic disinfectants and hand sanitizers, and it's everywhere you go. Right, so it's not only doubled, it's quadrupled in our world today. So it's very important to know thousands of 50 and 70,000 different chemicals are found to be used commercially. It's not even just the toxic exposure of what's in our environment outside from, exhaust fumes, but it's actually more so inside. Research shows us now that our indoor toxic exposure is 10 times that of what's outside. And so we're getting more and more internal exposure on a daily basis. And it's really important to know where it's hiding and what you can do about it. Where the most toxins are found are in our food supply. It's in chemicals that are making food today. Some chemicals we're even calling food because it's so full of chemicals. Preservatives, so there's lots of toxins in, and we're going to talk about that in more detail. There's more toxins in our water today. If you're drinking tap water, not only is it have chemicals in it, one of the things that they most recently discovered is that you're exposing yourself to medications by drinking tap water because of the cycling of people flushing medications. So there's a high amount of toxins in tap water. In our environment, of course, we're exposed to, factory environmental releases and things like that, and cars, exhausts and fumes and things like. But once again, That's one of the lower areas rather than what's in our household. Our cosmetics is a huge one. We're going to talk about what's in our cosmetics and why you want to change those. Your cleaning supplies and your disinfectants. You know, I know it's at a time when everybody's worried about disinfecting and cleaning more than ever, and unfortunately, it's just making us more exposed to toxic chemicals. So we're going to have you be aware of what some safe ways of cleaning would be. And then the containers that we use, there's a lot of plastics out there that we're being exposed to, and it's convenient, but it's causing us to not only have it absorbed in our food, but touching it and being around it. Even one of these things I learned by doing the research on this is the plastic that's released in I was going to show you if I had one, a receipt that you get like from the grocery store, and touching that gets your skin in contact with PABAs and phthalates just from touching the receipt from the grocery store, right? So, I mean, there's chemicals in places you never even stopped to think that they were hiding. And why is that a bad thing? Because toxic damage is making people very sick. It is damaging to our organs. It's damaging to enzymes in your body, even changes your DNA, like right down to your cell structure is being changed because of toxins. And your cells hate toxins. They hate them so badly that they try really hard to block them and reject them. And it alters how the cell functions. It alters that the cell can possibly absorb things properly, and it causes us to be malnutrition, inflamed. It causes inflammatory responses in the body, and those inflammatory responses in the body actually causing more damage, causes hormone disruptions in your body. It reduces your immune system function and raises your exposure to sickness and disease, right? So if we want to be more prone to becoming sick and having more sickness and diseases, we need to lower this toxic damage and the more toxic exposure because it leads to sickness and disease. And newsflash, not all sickness and diseases are genetic. A lot of people think that, you know, because you have a cancer gene or a diabetes gene or a high blood pressure gene in your family, that you're going to have that. And the truth of the matter is that they've done research and found out that genes are not the cause of sickness and disease. As a matter of fact, 95% of all cancers are attributed to diet and toxic exposure. So see how important it is to learn where are we getting exposed to toxins? Are we personally getting exposed to toxins? And what do we have to do to eliminate them? I'm going to show you actually through this process, like I tell all my patients every time I teach that next level class, that there's things that I even learned that I didn't know today that I hope you get to learn and know about today. Because part of the most important thing about this is knowing the truth so you can make the right choices. I like the way that one of my colleagues put the gene understanding how genetics affect sickness and disease. And genes are there and they're present, but genes only load the gun. Environment pulls the trigger. So when you think about that, you have in your body a gene that causes you to make cancer. You also have a gene that causes you to not make cancer. You have a gene in your body that makes you become diabetic. You also have a gene in your body that makes you not diabetic, right? And so your body knows how to respond. It has to respond to its environment. So we're not just a victim of bad genes. We can actually empower ourselves by knowing that there's something that we can do to prevent sickness and disease from happening, and empower yourself with change, right? So today, while we're learning all these toxic availabilities, where they are and what to do about them, we're going to be talking about exit conventional. When I talk about exit conventional, I mean literally step away from the way everybody else is doing something. I always talk about this in my office, like if you're doing everything the same way everybody else is, a good idea is to turn around and go the other direction. Because just because everybody else is doing something doesn't necessarily mean it's the right or the safest thing to do. That's particularly important right now in this time. That not what everybody's doing is necessarily the safest and least toxic thing to possibly do. So we talk about exit conventional. I laugh a little bit about, it's a choice that we make at this point. And now you become aware. And once you become aware, Now you decide, what you and your family are going to do to make those changes and how you're going to go about them. And we want to help you learn how to do those things. So when I talk today about exit conventional, what I mean is literally doing different what everybody out there is doing. And we're going to be doing something different than that. It's kind of like the movie, The Matrix. Everybody remember that movie? It's like where Neo had to choose the blue or the red pill, right? It's kind of like now you become aware and now you choose whether you, be aware and make these changes or be blinded to what's really going on and not make changes, right? And the choice is really up to you. But we want to not only empower you to make those choices and decisions, but people that we want you to empower people around you, because people are struggling and suffering at the cause of these toxic accumulations that we have in our environment, and they just don't know. And I'll tell you about some of the examples of what we don't know. Like our children today are so much more exposed to toxicity than we ever were. Today, a brand new born baby, because of bioaccumulation, and what that word means is through our bodies and then making a new baby, and then that baby having a certain amount of toxins that we had in our body passed on, and then that baby becoming adult and passing them on to their child. Today, a brand new born baby tests their umbilical cord for chemical exposure, and there's over 250 different chemicals already in a newborn baby, right? So we're passing this stuff on because we're accumulating so much. And I'm really worried, quite frankly, about our children. And then these children are born with more toxic exposure, and then these chemicals being, there's more chemicals being injected into their body, right? Today, a newborn child from 0 to 18 years of age, if they follow all the regulation injections, will have 120 inoculations by the time they're 18 years old. Right? That's something to worry about. That's something to be concerned about. Also looking at today in elementary school age children, 1 out of 4 children are on a chronic medication. That means they're on a medication that they take indefinitely, not just for 10 days, not just to get over a cold, but they're on a chronic medication, something that their doctors prescribe for them to stay on forever. And that's 1 out of 4 kids in elementary school. Also today, they're making something called, excuse my ambulances in the background, they're making something called biomilk. And biomilk is a conversation about creating artificial breast milk. So the chemicals and the ideas of more and more chemicals just get worse and worse. So exit conventional. And the way we exit conventional is to be aware of where the toxins are, what the top toxin exposures we have in our environment, and how you can eliminate them for yourself and for your family. So one of the first places we're going to take a look at is in the cleaning supplies. And the cleaning supplies have toxic chemicals in them. And as a matter of fact, what a lot of people don't know is that in the United States, cleaners don't have to list their ingredients. In Europe, those same companies making those same products have to have an ingredient list on it. The United States doesn't require it. So you don't know what's in there, and you don't know that it's not necessarily not safe. So when you look into it, you find out that many cleaning supplies have, well, first of all, perchloroethylene, which is called PERC, formaldehyde, chlorine, ammonia, and so many more chemicals and perfumes and dyes. And these things are all links that lead to cancers, hormone imbalances, liver damage, and so much more toxicity. And then we have on top of that, today we have antibacterial hand sanitizers. They're spraying your shopping carts and your stuff before you go in and touch things, and now you're touching it. Anything that touches your skin or goes into your lungs is absorbed into your bloodstream, right? So think about that, right? They spray it on and it dries off, but just because it's dried off doesn't mean it's not still there and that you're not still absorbing it into your body. And these things over time, getting exposed over and over again to these toxic chemicals are what cause inflammation, disease, and leads to many cancers and hormone imbalances in the body. It's just not worth it. The disinfectants also have fragrances, food coloring, or just coloring to make it pretty, right? And the propylene glycol. Not to mention the fact that not only these chemicals that you're absorbing into your hands, but you're also stripping your natural bacteria in your hand that actually helps you in your natural environment. And so that causes more damage. Your skin needs that bacteria there to protect itself. And the more we strip that bacteria away, the more damage we end up causing. So how do you exit conventional with our cleaning products and our disinfectants and our hand sanitizers and all those kinds of things? With this website. Now, hopefully on your screen, if you're in a computer screen and you can hold your phone up to this little blurb of, that's actually a website. So you're going to put your phone on camera and hold on up to that, and it'll go right directly to the website. If you don't have access to that, write down that this is the ewg.org website, ewg.org. And when you're going to / cleaning supplies, and you have access there to checking out your own cleaning supplies, number one, and finding out if they're safe. Now, by the way, I had this happen because I use this product. I won't show it any more than that, but that's what I use in my home. And what I did was I took this cleaning supply and I wanted to check out this website. So I put in the name of this on here, and this is not the safest of all the products that we could possibly be using. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't the best. So it's kind of nice to look at that and look at your products you have in your household and see how much toxic exposure you're actually getting to. And what I suggest you do is go pull out all your cleaning supplies in your house, check them all out, and get rid of the stuff that is toxic, because you don't want to use it one more day. You don't want to use it till it's gone, because it's just that much more chemical exposure that you're getting exposed to. Some of the safest cleaning supplies are cleaning supplies that are homemade, right? Vinegar and water. Lemon juice is a natural cleaning. We use baking soda with some vinegar and water and make like a pasty material that you can clean your tubs and things like that with. So there are solutions, and you can also check those out on our website. We have homemade ingredients for cleaning supplies, or you can also buy your cleaning supplies at a grocery store that's like the Better Health Food store, or one of those organics. I know Whole Foods also carries that kind of stuff, where you can buy clean products that are non-toxic. And look them up on the EWG, make sure they're okay, because just because they kind of say that they're clean doesn't necessarily mean that they are non-toxic, right? So make sure you check those out. The next thing we're going to talk about is heavy metal exposure. Heavy metal exposure can happen from many different resources. Some of the most common things are in our medications. Like medications have things like aluminum in them. Even over-the-counter stuff. You take an Excedrin every day, is aluminum in Excedrin, and other over-the-counter medications like that. Your silver fillings, that's a heavy metal exposure, and even cosmetics. And why is that a concern? Because heavy metals build up in your body over time. They're not something that's easily eliminated through your detoxification system. And because they can't really be eliminated, your body tries to hide them. One of the places it tries to hide them is in your brain. So they cross the blood-brain barrier and cause not only cancer problems, but memory problems. These are things that lead to Alzheimer's, as well as neurological problems, headaches, mood swings. This is not great for children who have learning disabilities or hyperactivity disorders. They're also known to affect your reproductive systems and development disorders there. Also raises your blood pressure and affects your heart. It damages your immune system, right? There's so many things that we could possibly talk about that heavy metals cause damage, and a little bit at a time doesn't show up as damage that minute, but because your body doesn't eliminate it like it should, it accumulates over time. And that's why people, as they age, they have more exposure time to that kind of stuff, and you do grow older without all those toxicity. You grow older more gracefully, don't have as much damage. One of the most common areas that I want to talk about where we're getting heavy metal exposures are in our cosmetics. And this is not just a conversation for women, but I want to talk a little bit about cosmetics for women. But men are not eliminated from this either. As a matter of fact, deodorant is one of the most common places for aluminum is in antiperspirant, right? So one of the things you don't want to use is an antiperspirant. Antiperspirants have aluminum in it, which then is absorbed directly into your underarms through your skin, right? And then that's, you're exposing yourself to heavy metal every day doing that. And then it's also bad to use an antiperspirant because it blocks you from sweating. And sweat is one of the ways that the body detoxifies. So it blocks you from detoxifying properly. It can start to cause lots of problems, including cancers. So we do recommend different things, and I'm going to show you a little bit when we get to the exit conventional slide that you can use for different choices. The other thing I also want to show you is in the cosmetics themselves, 96% of all commercial cosmetics contain lead, right? And then you're putting on your skin, and many of you know by the end of the day, you don't have makeup on anymore. Where did it go? Your skin absorbs that stuff. 90% beryllium, 61% thallium, 50% cadmium, and 20% arsenic, right? So there's a lot of toxic chemicals in commercial cosmetics, and it's really important that you know that and choose something different. So exit conventional here, again, if you can open the URL there, that will bring you to the EWG website /skin deep. What else is nice about this website is that if you don't have a product or you can't find your product on there and figure out what one is safe, you can just put in a word for cosmetic that you want, like foundation or eyeliner, and the website brings you to a brand that is known to have no toxins in it, and then you can just order that. I brought my little bag of goodies with me just for fun to show you that in my cosmetic bag, I have lots of different things that I now checked on the EWG website and know that Bare Minerals is one that falls in the category of safe. So I use their eye cream as well as their foundation. I also use a different brand called 100% Pure, found them on EWG as well. 100% Pure, you can order that stuff online, and they have, you know, all kinds of things, and their colorings are dyed with food. This is like a food dyed cheek balm, which is pretty cool. We've also looked on Veda is Aveda, not Veda. Aveda is a eyeliner that I use from them. That one's clean too. Bare Minerals I like, which I use that quite often. Here's my mascara from Bare Minerals, right? So lots of different stuff. I use this Wild Carrot Nourishing Eye Balm under my eyes and for kind of spicing up my wrinkles. And that one I get from Whole Foods, right? So there's a couple different resources that I have, but everything that I have in my cosmetic bag is all stuff that's non-toxic because I don't want to put toxicity on my body. Another thing is toothpaste. You probably don't think too much about your toothpaste being toxic, but I use a Thieves brand. It's important when you check out your toothpaste to make sure that it is fluoride free and SLS free. SLS is a big long fancy word that is what they use to make toothpaste foam and lather, and soaps foam and lather, and it's carcinogen. So you don't want that in your toothpaste. Another experience I had I kind of wanted to share with you guys is going to the dentist. Anybody been to the dentist since COVID happened? Okay, so I did, went and got my teeth cleaned. And when I knew going in, everywhere I go right now, I carry around my own hand sanitizer, which by the way, we do have samples of that here at the office, but they're made with essential oils. And the essential oils Purify are ones that are essential oils that are antiviral, right? So we put them in our hand sanitizers. And so I carry those around with me. So when I go into places that try to make me use their hand sanitizer, I pull mine out of my purse to use my own hand sanitizer so it's not toxic, right? So that's number one secret. Number two, when you go to the dentist, they don't tell you when you get there that they're going to disinfect your mouth. They didn't tell me that, but when I got there and sat down to get my teeth cleaned, and I got my mask on, I use my hand sanitizer, I sit down, I take my mask off, I lay back, I open my mouth because I'm ready for them to clean my teeth. And she pulls out this little bottle of whatever, squirts me. It tastes like Listerine, but worse, like Listerine on steroids. It's this huge concentration of chemical grossness in my mouth. And I was like, "Whoa, what?" And she was like, "Oh, just a little disinfectant." I was like, "Just a little disinfectant?" I'm like trying to tell her I'm not going to swallow this. And then I got up from the chair and went over. She wanted me to just swallow it. Like, it wasn't just a rinse and spit. She put that, whatever it was, in my mouth, and she wanted me to, like, let it run around in my mouth and then swallow this stuff. And all I can think is, you're removing all my healthy bacteria, and there's no way I'm putting this thing through my digestive tract. So I got out of the chair and went over and spit the stuff out and rinsed my mouth out and said, that is terrible, and you should absolutely warn people before you just squirt some toxic chemical in their mouth. But what I learned by that is, and that my son right now goes to orthodontist all the time, I sent him with our own mouthwash that's made with thieves, which again is an essential oil that is a natural antiviral. So it cleans out and kills bacteria or damaging bacteria without stripping all the healthy bacteria in the process. And it's just a cute little story I wanted to tell you about, but you never know. You got to be aware of everywhere you go, protect yourself and bringing your stuff with you. Okay, so moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about the next most toxic exposing thing that we are having in our environment that we're not aware of is what we're cooking our food on. So Teflon, if you don't already know that, it's been banned in all across the United States for several years now. And that's why you can't buy it anymore. But a lot of you still have it in your cupboards because you think it's convenient and easy and all that kind of stuff. Well, the Teflon exposure can lead to fever, chest tightness, shortness of breath, headaches, cough, chills, right? And if you had all these symptoms and you just got done eating a fried egg in your Teflon pan, there's no way you'd be ending up going, "Oh, must be the Teflon," right? You just never connect the dots. These things are so toxic that they actually found out by cooking in a Teflon pan with a bird in the same room that the smoke, the toxic stuff that comes off the cooking, burning Teflon actually kills the bird if the bird's in the same room with Teflon cooking, right? So if it's bad enough to kill a bird, not good for absorbing it in your body. Teflon is extremely common in non-stick surfaces, so be careful when you buy new stuff. We're going to kind of tell you a little bit about how to exit culture here too, or exit conventional. The other thing that people don't realize is that Teflon is also in face masks. The surgical face mask that, the paper blue things, those have Teflon in them. So when you're wearing one of those all day long, you're breathing in Teflon and your breath is warming it up and releasing it out of the face mask. So definitely recommend you change that face mask. So exit conventional, number one, you got to use a face mask, use cotton. And then exit conventional with your pots and pans. We want to talk about stainless steel. Stainless steel is going to be the cleanest and easiest. It takes a little bit of learning how to work with stainless steel so it doesn't stick, but stainless steel will not stick if you use it the right way. And these are the cleanest, and they don't release any damaging heavy metals into your food. Aluminum, they learned a long time ago, they stopped making aluminum pots and pans, right? So now we're having a conversation about getting rid of your Teflon pots and pans because heavy metals get cooked and released in heat, and then they go into your foods, right? So we want to remove those toxins. So take some action and change your pots and pans. Plastics are microplastics are another way that we're being exposed to toxins. And one search tells us that one person drinking tap water every day is exposed to 1,769 plastic particles daily. in the water, right? So we're getting more plastic particles in our water because we have so much plastic in our environment that it's just making its way into our water. If you're using plastic containers for food storage, change those over. If I like freezer bag something, I'll still use a freezer bag, but if I put my food into the freezer bag, I wrap it in parchment paper before I put it in the freezer bag so it's not touching the plastic. So watching and being aware of your food touching plastic and then sitting on it for a long period of time is going to absorb it in it. Certainly also don't cook or warm up your food in anything plastic either. And then, plastic containers that are around us, like I talked about the receipts that you get at the grocery store, touching that, you're touching plastics and phthalates when you're doing that. The plastic bags from the grocery store, we, think, oh, we'll recycle those and it's, good for the environment, recycle thing, but it's not good for you to be carrying those things around, touching them. And then as you're kind of moving around the fibers, they release into the air. You're absorbing plastic when you're touching those. So get paper bags from the grocery store or use recyclable like cloth bags at the grocery store, or so that you're not touching and in contact with plastic over and over and over again. The other exit conventional here is to change all your containers over to glass containers. Very easy to do. Go has some great deals on those pretty often. That's where I've changed all mine over and to glass containers. And of course, they're just that much more convenient. Some of the other things that they suggest, like we talked about with the grocery bags, use paper or recycled cloth bags, are good for carrying your groceries around and things like that. And just finding in your environment where you're having, too many plastics that you're paying attention to. Maybe you're going to a store and getting coffee, right? And those coffees, the cups, the cup is styrofoam and the top is plastic, and you put hot stuff in a styrofoam container and then drinking that. So styrofoam is very readily releasing plastics. Matter of fact, you can see it when you just look at styrofoam. You can see like little white particles kind of flying off of it, and sort of looks like static electricity. We've seen that before. That stuff is plastic and toxic chemicals that end up in you because you put your drink in that. So using stainless steel containers when you're drinking warm coffees and things like that are important changes to eliminate your exposure to plastics. So be more aware and change those things over. Next slide, I want to talk about real quick about water. So not in water, just in the conversation of drinking tap water, but using it on a daily basis. Now we're washing our hands, right? And if you're following some protocol, you got to wash your hands to, I don't know, some song that makes you keep your hands running underwater for 20 seconds or 3 minutes or whatever it is. But right, so we're doing that so much more. And then even in the shower. So here's what a lot of people don't know. Not only the toxic chemicals, the EPA found that in tap water alone contains 84,000 toxic chemicals, including pesticides, chlorine, plastics, fluoride, right? So many other things that are toxic to your body. What actually happens is in a shower, in one 15-minute shower, is the equivalent of drinking 8 glasses of water, tap water. Right, so if you use tap water in your shower but you drink, purified water all the time, well, you're doing good because you're drinking purified water, but in a 15-minute shower, you're absorbing the same thing as if you drink 8 glasses of tap water. So exit conventional, consider a shower filter. Now you can buy shower filters pretty inexpensively in some cases, of course, the least expensive products that kind of filtration system are going to have the least effective filtration. So if you're going to bother to actually really have your water clean, we do recommend Kinetico is the clean, clear water system. I have it on my home, and we have it on the whole house. So our showers, our drinking water, all that stuff is removed, all the chemicals out of it. If you are interested in finding out more about that, I do have our water guy that does the water purify at the office as well as at my home. He will come out to your house for free and evaluate your water and find out how much chemical is in it and what chemicals are in it. And then you can decide, what capacity you want to have filtration systems done. So if you're interested in that, please in office ask us, or you can shoot me an email and ask for his information so that you get your water tested. But consider a shower, a filtration system to change that shower. Okay, and then the last and probably the most common and hardest thing to really nail down is all the toxins in our food. And so toxicity in our food, first and foremost conversation I can have with you is that the more your food looks like this, the better. If it doesn't have an ingredient label on it and you just know ingredients it's an apple, right? You don't have to add preservatives and all the toxins and things like that. Now, the other thing to know about this is that this doesn't have a food label on it to tell you whether or not it's been genetically modified or if it's been sprayed with pesticides. And just washing the outside of a genetically modified fruit or vegetable does not take away the chemicals. The chemicals are actually inside because they altered the DNA of the plant before it made the fruit. Why did they do that? Because they genetically alter it in such a way that they can make them bigger or they can make them smaller. Did you ever notice that at the grocery store? You got the big apples and then you got a bunch of little apples. That's actually created that way on purpose. Apples naturally in nature should be all different sizes. There should be some big ones, some little ones, right? And that's not just really good sorting. As a matter of fact, if you go look at commercial and conventional produce, you'll notice that they all look very much alike. But that's not natural, that they all look exactly alike. That's happening because of genetic modification. The other thing that happens in genetic modification is it gets pesticides in it so the bug won't eat it. So if the bug won't eat it because the bug knows better, what do you think you should be doing? Right? You should know better because there's toxins in there and they're damaging to your body. If you pesticides going in your digestive system, you're causing inflammation all along your digestive tract over and over again. So be aware of organics, and we will talk a little bit about how to exit culture with that in just a few seconds. The other thing with food is reading your food label. Now, when I talk about reading a food label, I don't mean reading this food label that tells you how many calories and how many carbs, how many sugars. What's important to know that kind of stuff. But the real label is actually the ingredient stuff itself. Like actually read what's in the ingredients. Now, of course, I have something that doesn't have any chemicals in it. It's almonds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, cashews, raisins, walnuts, coconut oil, cinnamon, sea salt, and vanilla extract, right? Okay, so clean stuff. Now, when you're reading your ingredient list on some of your boxed and processed foods and things that have long shelf life, you're going to see words you can't even pronounce, right? Some of the things to be looking for are MSG. You guys recognize MSGs most oftenly found in Chinese food, but it is now in every kind of food that you can find over the counter, and in our boxed foods and processed foods, they changed the name of MSG because MSG is such a bad rap and so commonly causes damage to people that they know to avoid MSG. So they started changing the name of it. I had to put the list down on my prompter here. I could read it to you because you can't believe how long the list is. So here's the other names that you can find in an ingredient list of what MSG is. Autolyzed yeast, autolyzed yeast protein, calcium glutamate, carrageenan, glutamate, glucamic acid, hydrolyzed corn, ingredient listed as hydrolyzed, protein fortified, ultra pasteurized, fermented, enzyme modified, magnesium glutamate, monoammonium glutamate, monopotassium glutamate, natural flavors, pectin, sodium caseinate, soy isolate, soy sauce, textured protein, vegetable extract, and yeast food are all alternative names for MSG, right? Sad, isn't it? So some of those things you're reading, you're just going, I don't even know what the heck that is. And it sounds like, can't be that bad. Yeast extract, how bad can that be? Well, guess what? It's bad because it's actually MSG. Aspartame is another ingredient you want to avoid in your foods, and it is a artificial sweetener most often found in soft drinks and diet foods. You want to avoid it at all costs. It's also in chewing gum that they pretend is good for kids, which is not good for kids, because what does it do? It's a carcinogen. It's neurotoxic, so it's not good for learning disabilities and ADHD people, as well as causes headaches and digestive issues and so many more things. So you want to avoid that at all costs. Nitrates, also something you want to look for. Make sure your foods are nitrate free, because nitrates are highly linked to cancer. Food dyes and artificial colors are also linked to cancer. Hyperactivity, which really triggers me, because where do we see the most often artificial colors? In children's cereal. And then we have a problem with hyperactivity. Refined oils are damaging to your body, and chemicals in your body. They are found in any kind of boxed or processed snacks and cookies and chips and those types of things. Refined oils. They're damaged oils. Damaged oils will actually raise your cholesterol. Damaged oils will actually lower your HDLs and raise your LDLs. So those are all bad for you. And then genetically modified foods, which we just talked about, GMOs. They're in your boxed food too. So just because you eat an apple that's organic doesn't mean that you wouldn't buy organic applesauce, right? Or tomatoes need to be organic. Then you go buy tomato sauce. You can't just buy canned tomato sauce and not have that be organic if it's important that the fruit is organic. Do you get what I mean? So make sure you're watching that kind of stuff in your food. The other thing that's happening with our food is we have mineral depleted soil. So now you're having your organic apple, and even in an organic farming situation, sometimes we're having such quick turnover that we're so busy worried about not putting chemicals into it, which is good. But now we're depleting the nutrition in our produce. Because we're having such quick turnover, there's no time for the soil to resorb any nutrients, and the nutrients that the plant gets to put in the fruit comes out of the soil. So there are regenerative farming practices, which are known as like Beyond Organic, which is a brand that does regenerative farming. And when you look into regenerative farming, they don't use any sprays or pesticides. They actually have what they call healthy bugs in their farming, and they're actually healthy bugs that are good for the food and bad for the bad bugs. They actually kill the bad bugs, right? So there's a way of farming that keeps our food from being damaged, and that regenerative farming is one of the things to do that. What I want you to really hear and know out of this is, unless you have all your food be regenerative farming, which I don't recommend anybody in lifestyle can necessarily do, unless you just, sell your house, quit your job, and go just regenerative farm, is that our food is depleted of nutrients. Like one apple today is the equivalent, sorry, I do this backwards. One apple in 1945 today requires 3 apples to have the same amount of nutrients in the apple from 1945. So we're depleted by over, 3/4 of what we used to be able to do. We're only getting 1/4 of that same nutrient now in one food. So you need 4 apples in order to get the equivalent of 1. So rather than doing that kind of stuff, we want you to actually be more aware of looking at healthy supplementation, making sure that you're getting clean supplements, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later too. We talked a little bit more about exit conventional when it comes to food things. In the advanced plan that we use here in the office, and you'll find that in your Align books and your on our website as well. The advanced plan suggests that you also eliminate artificial sugars and sweeteners and use more organic produce. The EWG.org website has a produce section that talks about the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. And the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen are conventional. There are some conventional produce that is not damaged, which would be the Clean 15, by conventional farming practices. And there are 30 dozen that are absolutely damaged by conventional. And the way to exit conventional in that situation is to use organic when you're talking about the dirty dozen. So it's not just only 15 and 12. It actually lists them kind of in order. So, you know, some of the high things in these first 12 numbers are things like apples are highly GMO'd and pesticide where you can't wash it off. So are berries and peppers, tomatoes. So those kinds of things, I always make sure that I get them organic, whether it's buying the fruit or the produce itself or products. Like if I buy salsa, I buy salsa organic. I don't buy salsa not organic because there's non-organic tomato. That would be bad, right? So the ewg.org website will help you exit conventional to learn what things and what products should be organic and what you can afford to have it not be organic. Some of those things are things like onions, like they're not grown with GMOs and pesticides. You know, another one is also asparagus, is also one that can be conventionally grown and not be damaging. So look that up on ewg.org. My next slide is talking about toxic bioaccumulation. And this is knowing the meats and the meat products that you're eating. Bioaccumulation has to do with how long that animal lived and accumulated toxins. And it has to do with not only how long they lived and accumulated toxins and what kind of farming they were exposed to, but also how large they are. So when we're talking about fish, small fish that are wild caught fish, like wild caught sardines, are going to have a lower toxicity level than a giant salmon is going to have, or tuna, right? Those fish, larger fish, eat littler fish. And so then those fish eating littler fish have toxins in them, and then they eat more little fish and they have more toxins in them, and the bigger they are, the more toxins they have in them. So being aware of that kind of stuff, you want to make sure that you're eating the smaller fish when you can, but most importantly, wild caught fish. When you're looking at meat products, you want to make sure that you're eating organic, because any conventionally farmed or raised chickens and even the egg product from a chicken and your beef, those are all things that you want to make sure are organic. Why? Because that animal ate all the, you know, if a cow is only grass-fed, which by the way, conventional cows are not grass-fed, they're grain, they're fed with like corns and grains and some grass, but really not much of all. So when that happens, they're a sick, unhealthy animal that then you're eating the meat of that toxic, sick, unhealthy animal. So you see that bioaccumulation is bad if that animal gets a lot of toxins and then you eat the meat of that. So it's really important, especially with meat products, more important than it is with produce, that it be organic. Do have actually in our office a farm that is an organic farm that is we're in a co-op with. So if you want more information about ordering through them, you can do that at our office. And we just had an order go in this weekend, and we can still add to the order. So make sure on Monday, if you want to make an order, you stop by the office, we'll give you an order form and we can get that turned in for you. Okay? So exit conventional when it comes to food. And then we're going to look at toxicity in your supplements. So toxicity in your supplements is important to know too. There are supplements that are made with artificial sweeteners, colors, food additives, preservatives, even flavoring that can be toxic and harmful, and actually cause more damage than they do good. Synthetic vitamins, definitely not the way you want to go. And you want your vitamins to be whole food, which means you want your vitamins to be the closest to taking food in nature, breaking it down and condensing the nutrition out of it and putting it in a capsule that's safe for you to digest and absorb, right? So that's the bottom line conversation about vitamins. So how do you look for that kind of stuff? Well, first of all, you want to make sure that they're whole food vitamins, that there's no artificial colors or preservatives and additives in them. Most often, a product that is commercially advertised and marketed, and they maybe the capsule that's like colored a certain way, and it has this smooth capsule that's like all easy to swallow. That's all chemicals. That's all toxins on the outside of that thing, making it like that. So what should your vitamins look like? First of all, you should read your ingredient list just like you do on your food products, but also vitamins should look like crushed up food, right? It's the closest that it should look to nature. And so that includes your vitamins. And what's important to understand about vitamins is if you have toxins in the vitamins, you're just causing your liver more stress than you are helping your body. You're causing yourself more harm than you help. The other thing is that if the vitamin isn't readily absorbable into your body, then it's just going right through you and you're wasting your money. Even if it's an inexpensive vitamin, if you're not absorbing the vitamin, it's like spending money on nothing. And so it doesn't pay to try to be, penny wise and a dollar fool on trying to save money on vitamins. And so the most important thing is that you get a good vitamin. And we don't even necessarily recommend that you have a lot of different vitamins, but that you have a good source of replenishing the nutrients that we lack in our everyday food, especially if you're not a really great, vegetable and produce eater. So Maximize Living formulas are created with a purpose and care that are backed by research and actually ensure the quality and the efficiency of that and efficacy of what's actually in every one of our supplements. They're made in the USA and they have the highest of industry standards. There's no artificial sweeteners, no artificial additives. And if there are sweeteners, like in our protein shake, it's a natural sweetener that's actually healthy and good for you. They are rigorously tested. There's no GMOs, and they're gluten-free. So it's really great to know that we are supported and backed by a product that they do the research on and make sure that we can provide for our patients nutraceuticals that are nutritional and full of the right things without any terrible additives. So when we talk about a detox program, there's two things that have to happen in detoxing. You have to get rid of your exposure to toxins, and we talked about all those places it's hiding and lots of things that you can do to do that differently. But then the second thing you have to do is to also clean out whatever you've already had in there, right? So we have two recommendations for that. Max Cleanse is a product that we actually really like because it's a very comprehensive formula that allows the body to gently cleanse and detoxify the way it does naturally without any harmful toxins. There's no harmful side effects. It has green tea extract in it. It has things that help promote cells from getting damaged and also promotes healthy liver function in your body. So it works with your body's natural detoxification system. It helps clean the body from harmful toxins. It supports a healthy liver, and it protects cells from becoming more damaged. So it helps with overall wellness. And it is something to use daily because it will constantly just keep your body functioning and cleansing any toxins that you're exposed to. Remember we said at the beginning of this that you're never going to be able to avoid all the toxins. So we don't want to make you like a toxic phobia person, and you reduce your toxic exposure and enhance your body's ability to be in environment with them and cleanse naturally. If you have been exposed to toxins and you want to do a detoxing program, our Body Detox has a unique formula that contains fibers like psyllium husk and flaxseed meal, whole body detoxifiers that actually pull toxins from the cells, and then has a body detox that you take at the end of the day that absorbs the toxins that have been released from the cells so that they safely leave your body. It has detoxifiers like chlorella and milk thistle and spirulina, and these are all intracellular antioxidants, so they actually pull toxins from each and every cell in your body. It also adds things like glutathione, which glutathione is a really important thing that our body needs to make naturally in order to prevent cancer from happening, and this helps support that and releases you from free radicals that we're being exposed to, like those plastics and phthalates and stuff that we talked earlier. The detox system is something that we do promote that you use if you want to cleanse, or if you're weight loss resistant and you want to clean out some of those fat cells. This will actually pull toxins from your body, so your body will naturally begin losing weight and burning fat properly. Once you do the detox system, and depending on what your toxification levels are, you might do that for a month or 2 months, or some people have to do as much as 3. Then on a regular basis, use the max cleanse for the follow-up for that. So either one of those 2 things are available. Next week, we do have these 2 products on discount in our office. We just talked about the difference between the 2. I just wanted you to also know that I have them at 20% off next week. And for you guys who mentioned that you saw it on the slide, but we want to make that available for everybody so that we can also reference you to go back and watch this program. Another thing we want to talk about detoxing is in our mindset. We can certainly be bombarded and filled with toxic negativity, and more thoughts and situations that we put our mind in and thinking about that are toxic, the more toxic our mind is going to be. And this is really important right now because a lot of people are watching news and scare tactic kind of media and things that are just literally pulling us away from knowing who our creator is and how healthy our body can be, on its own. And we didn't all of a sudden forget how to be healthy and well. So we just have to calm it down and refocus our thinking. And so how you exit conventional is detox your mind. I did a little snippet on this last year, and I just reshared it. If you go on my Facebook page, you'll find a detoxing your mind little 6-minute segment on my Facebook page under Mary Fry. And I talked on there about making sure you get good rest, making sure that you're putting positive thoughts in your brain, maybe even reading some good material. Like Carolyn Leaf is a great author that talks about how your mind can be full of toxic thoughts and how to remove toxic thoughts from your mind. So that's a good reference for that. I like this little quote at the bottom, so I'll read it to you. It's not about technology being the existential threat. It's technology's ability to bring out the worst in society, and the worst in society being the existential threat. That's a pretty profound quote, and it really has to do with not the information out there, but what you do with the information, right? So what you do with that and how you let your mind and your family's mind, right? We have to be really concerned about how our kids are being taught to think right now too. Exercise and oxygen, also another great way to detoxify. It's important to make sure you're getting great exercise. We do recommend the Max T3 program, which you can look that up online. It only takes 12 minutes to get your body sweating and releasing toxins. And it's amazing. It actually works with changing your hormones to cause you to burn fat for 36 hours after just a 12-minute workout. So it's worth looking at and looking into that if you don't know about it already. If you do already know about it, get back on path, get back on track of doing that. I know for myself, I remind myself every day that exercise is important, not just for my body and my health, but my mental health is really important to making sure that you're doing that. So sweat and get to the point where you're working out till you sweat, because sweat is what releases toxins. So great to do that with the Max T3 program. So the next thing that I want to talk about is, how we know if we're healthy or sick. How do you know if you're toxic or not toxic? We've all seen the list, and I'm going to show you the list in a few minutes of all the symptoms, the warning signs. But really, how do we determine if we're healthy or we're not healthy? I talk about this a lot in my class, but health doesn't just mean feels good, right? Sometimes you can feel good and be not healthy. But health is really all about how well you function, how well you heal. Remember, we talk about health is actually a root word, or the root word of health is heal. So if you have 100% function and healing in your body, absent of interference from toxicity, your body can recover and heal from anything. right? So that's why it's important to know how to remove toxins from your body, but it's also important to know how that is affecting your health. And your nervous system is the number one thing in your body that we not only want to make sure we take care of, but that is responsible for how healthy our body is. You know, so many times it's a step in a direction, and when I talk to a new patient, I see light bulbs go off in their mind because they have become aware that many times when we're aware of our nervous system, it's because it hurts. And so we connect in our mind that the nervous system only just means when we're in pain. But the nervous system is in charge of running every organ, every tissue, every gland in your body is under the authority of your brain and empowered by your spinal cord, right? And so that brain-body connection is vital to all of the systems in your body working well, working balanced, and working in harmony to make sure that you have absolutely no interference in causing any disruptions or malfunctions in your body, right? And malfunctions you don't necessarily notice the day they happen because your body is so good at adapting to something, you can have depleted function in an organ system for decades before it shows up as a symptom. So what do we do instead? We get checked for subluxation. There are warning signs. So subluxation is when a bone goes out of place and puts pressure on the nerve. What a lot of people don't realize is that word subluxation actually is a Latin term that means less light. Less light means less power. Less power in your body means sickness and disease. When your body's not working 100%, it can't be balanced and it starts to develop malfunction or develop symptoms and health problems that many times people forget to even connect to the nervous system. This list shows us that, you know, headaches probably seem an obvious thing, but menstrual problems, people probably don't realize if you have cycle problems or cramps with your periods that you should go get adjusted. But it does immense things to changing how your systems and your organs work in your body. Even they did research and found out one chiropractic adjustment to the first bone in the spine reduces blood pressure better than 2 blood pressure medications. And what's so powerful about that is that it doesn't just chemically change, it stabilizes the body. When you turn a person's power on by an adjustment, relieving pressure on the nervous system, their body stabilizes in a way that they promote health and healing. And the body always does exactly what it needs, exactly when it needs to do it, in exactly the right way and the right time. There is no guessing how many chemicals or what kinds of things you need to add to the body to try to pretend to make it work right? So medications just mask symptoms. They don't correct the cause of the symptoms. And that's why it's so important for you to not only keep your spine healthy, subluxation free, but if you've never had your spine checked before, that you get your spine checked. And most importantly, those of you who've been in my program before and know what subluxation is and how it can affect your health by getting adjusted, you need to tell your family and friends about getting chiropractic care. There are so many people out there who don't know the connection to health and healing and preventing sickness and disease. And I will tell you that this year, more than any year I've been in practice before, people want a solution to preventing sickness and disease that is natural and keeps them out of the hospital and keeps them well to prevent sickness and disease from happening, that so many more people are seeking this. They're looking for an answer of what can I do that's healthier to prevent my damage. Because, you know, we've learned through this past year that people with already health conditions and health problems are more susceptible to getting sick. So we're finally starting to put 2 and 2 together and understand that you can't just continue to be sick. And the cure for that is wait until you're sick and try to find a potion to fix it. The cause is the cure, right? So the most important thing is getting to the cause of your condition. And that's why here in our office and with Max Living, we look at all the 5 essentials as things that don't add to your body, but how we can help your body be free of any interference from toxicity, interference from not maybe moving and exercising enough, interference from toxic thoughts, interference from foods, and even foods that you thought were healthy and nutritious, but find out that even though they don't have a food label, they might be damaging to your body, right? And then nerve supply, the most important thing, because none of those other essentials work unless the nervous system is working. So your action step is to go tell 5 of your friends about chiropractic care and the amazing healing ability that you have inside your body, that they also have inside their body, that they should check out chiropractic and get their first chiropractic adjustment if they've never had one before. If you've had a chiropractic adjustment before and it's been a while since you've had one, get back in here and get checked. Right? There is never a better time to get your spine checked. Do your home care exercises. Make sure that you're keeping your spine and your nervous system healthy and well so that you can prevent sickness and disease from happening. Right? Our next workshop that's coming up, you guys, is on May 22nd. We will do it live like we're doing it right now, unless we get the opportunity to do it indoors, which I'm hoping and praying for that opportunity to happen soon. So if it does, we'll be changing the venue for that and be here together. It would be awesome. I'd love that. But anyway, either way, it's a cardio workshop. Lots of people need to understand and know what the heck is, stressing our hearts out and how can we avoid and keep our hearts healthy. And it's not just from using medications. As a matter of fact, we'll talk quite a bit about the misunderstandings about heart attack, heart failure, heart disease, how diabetes ties into that, and even how cholesterol ties into that. So we're going to educate you on all that stuff. It's a great class. Don't miss it, and make sure that you tell your family and friends about it as well. Make sure that you don't miss out on the discounts and promotions that we have in the office this week. And any of you who are watching this program that want to bring in a family member to get their spine checked, normally there is a fee for our consultation or exam and that surface EMG check up. And it's normally $39 in our office for just the surface EMG part. So if you tell somebody and they come into our office or call and they mention that you told them about us from the toxic class, we will give that scanning program to them for free so they can get their spine checked. Okay? Discounts on vitamins that we talked about are the detox programs. You can also go to our website, and every week they change what is on promotion. So check our website out and go to the store. And when you go to the store, you can order your supplements there. If you're already a supplement user and you know that every month you got to pick up more D3, and quite frankly, our D3 sells so fast here that we're out of it more often than we're having it. We encourage you to order it online. If you have a monthly send, an auto send to you for your purchases, it's 10% off. So it's one of the most effective, least expensive, most important vitamin you can possibly have in your repertoire, and it's really a good idea to just have it auto shipped to you. So you can do that on our website too. So lots of promotions and discounts there if you go look at that. And we just hope that you've learned some more and you're empowered and encouraged to go make some changes, go clean out those cleaning closets, go to the grocery store and find your organic products, and just have fun making some healthy recipes. That's something you can check out on our website too, is we have all our organic and grain-free, toxic-free recipes on our website, and there's hundreds of them in ways that you can eat without sugar and without grain and love enjoying that food. So I hope you learned some stuff. I hope you've enjoyed the program and been enjoying having you here, and just hope you make it a max living day.